White sneakers are absolutely essentials to any fashion enthusiast. They are style chameleons that work well with almost any look. In this video, I'll be comparing the Koio Capri Triple White with the common project's Achilles Low White, taking a deep dive into their similarities and differences. I will go through packaging, first impressions, and branding, then take a closer look at their construction, silhouette, sizing, and comfort to give you a 360 view of both shoes. This video is kindly sponsored by Koio, but my thoughts about the shoes are my own. Before we get into the comparison, here's a brief overview of the two brands. Founded in 2014, the Italian leather sneaker label Koio is dedicated to making luxury footwear more accessible in the digital era. It brings together modern design and sustainable Italian craftsmanship in comfortable footwear made for everyday wear. Common Projects, founded in 2004, is an American luxury footwear company that combines utilitarian design with Italian quality and construction, resulting in pieces with a sleek, minimal aesthetic. The use of premium material on every simple and wearable silhouettes allowed Common Projects to carve out a niche between classic sportswear and high fashion. Right off the bat, the shoebox from Koio has a very sustainable feeling with a heavy e-commerce impacted design. It's a single piece of cardboard that folds into a box. The multi-purpose design is great as the double adhesive stripes mean it can be used for returns. Inside the box, there's a standard wax tissue paper and a heavy cotton dust bag, also in beige. Unlike Koio, Common Projects uses a very thick, glossy cardboard for its box. It's very sturdy and has a traditional luxury brand packaging design with a separate lid. Inside the box is some glossy tissue paper and a soft white cotton dust bag. I've never owned a pair of the Koio Capri Triple White before, and my first impression out of the box is that they look almost the same as Common Projects. But the more I look at them, the more details I notice. With a nicely proportioned toe cap that creates a very sleek silhouette, the Koio Capri Triple White is well constructed with quality leather that you can tell immediately from touch. After owning 6 pairs of Common Projects, I can't be more familiar with the Achilles Low sneakers. The design is as clean and simple as you can get with a minimal amount of expression. The toe cap is slightly slimmer than the Koio Capri Triple White. Since this pair has been worn for over 4 years, the leather is already buttery smooth. However, I do have newer pairs of Common Projects that are quite a bit stiffer. Until I intentionally sought out the branding on these Koio Capri Triple White, I didn't realize there's quite a bit throughout the shoe. The most noticeable is the logo type pressed on the heel patch and then the graphic logo right below on the sole. There's a graphic logo pressed directly on top of the shoe tongue with a gold printed logo type right underneath the shoe tongue as well as another small graphic logo below it. The Koio logo is also printed in a slightly different gold tone on the inner side of the sole, which is a pretty common treatment. On the bottom of the shoe, the Koio logo type and graphic logo are repeated again in the middle and bottom of the sole. It does seem like the Koio has a lot of branding, but it's harmoniously distributed throughout the shoe and doesn't affect the clean visual at all. Here on the Achilles Low, there are only 2 spots that have branding, one of which is the iconic golden numbers stamped on the outer heel representing the style, size, and color of the shoe. The other spot is at the bottom of the inner sole with the brand name stamped in gold. Both of the sneakers feel equally well constructed. Koio uses Vitello calf leather while common projects use Nappa leather. The differences in material aren't really noticeable to an untrained eye. Both are made in the Marche region of Italy, but there are some differences when it comes to the number of cuts on the leather pieces. Here on the Koio Capri triple white, the lace guard, collar, and waist of the shoe are in 3 separate pieces of leather. The collar of the shoe is also connected with the counter, wrapping around the heel in one piece. The Achilles low used 2 pieces of leather for the middle section of the shoe, one piece on the lace guard and another full piece throughout the waist and quarter all the way back to the heel. Around the heel area, both of the shoes have a heel tab. The difference is that the Koio has an extra piece of leather for its backstay, while the common projects don't have a backstay, and the counter from both sides meet in the middle with just stitching. Moving on to the shoe tongue, the Capri triple white has one full piece of leather throughout the tongue with stitching right along the edge. The Achilles low has 2 pieces of leather for extra padding with stitching around the middle, with the edge of the 2 pieces of leather folding inward. There's one extra slit in the top middle of the Koio tongue that you can thread your shoelaces through. This keeps the tongue from slipping side to side when you move around in them. Definitely a practical feature. Around the entire outer sole, the 2 brands have pretty much identical construction. One small difference around the front sole patch is that the Koio has no visible bump by covering the ridge throughout the entire sole. The ridge tapers down and merges into the flat surface right at where the patch starts. This small detail shows Koio has a bit finer control on the aesthetic of their sneakers. I'm not an expert, but I think the variances in the construction of the 2 sneakers are more reflective of the brand's style choices rather than any technical preferences. The use of multiple cuts of leather on the Koio Capri triple white is more to reinforce the visual style of the brand's design language. Both the Koio Capri triple white and common project's Achilles low have a very clean and sleek silhouette. The differences in their shape are not that visually noticeable unless I compare them inch by inch. The shapes are pretty much identical from the side profile. However, you can see some differences when you look at them side by side from the top. The Koio has a straighter axis from toe tip to heel, which results in a symmetrical toe cap. On the other hand, the common projects have a slightly angled axis tilting inwards. This means there's a slightly bigger curve from the outer side of the shoe, and the toe tip is not exactly in the middle of the shoe but shifted a bit towards the inner side. The Capri triple white has a slightly wider toe cap versus the Achilles low white's slimmer one. The connection parts where the lace guards meet each side of the sole slightly bump out on the Koio, while the same area on the Achilles low has less noticeable bumps. Sizing-wise, both Koio and common projects don't offer half sizes. You should definitely size down if you wear half sizes for the Capri triple white, just as their website recommends. However, it's a bit tricky for the Achilles low, as it depends on if you have wide or slim feet. If you have wider feet and wear half sizes, you'll want to size up instead. Koio offers not only a regular fit, but also a wider one to accommodate this same issue. Since I just recently received these Koio Capri triple white sneakers, I can't truly speak to how they feel once they are completely worn in. Regardless, they are super comfortable fresh out of the box. The extra padding plus wider covered area around the heel definitely make them more comfortable than the Achilles low in the same areas. The only area that's a bit stiff is the shoe tongue. As I mentioned earlier, the Koio's shoe tongue has no extra padding and there's less of a curve around where it meets your ankle. However, this issue can be resolved by loosening up the shoelaces, and I believe it can only get better once worn in a bit more. It's a bit unfair for me to talk about how comfortable this pair of Achilles low white are, since they are completely worn in after 4 years and one of the most comfortable pairs of sneakers I have. But I do have a couple other pairs of Achilles that are relatively new. Out of the box, common projects are narrower and stiffer than the Koio. To reach the same level of comfort as my worn-in pair would take at least a couple months of frequent wearing. Now that we have looked at all the characteristics of Koio Capri Triple White and common projects Achilles Low White, there's just one last thing to talk about: cost. I intentionally didn't mention the price of each pair until now so that you can be the judge. At $295 and $450 respectively, the Achilles Low White costs $155 more. I'd say $295 for the Koio sneakers is definitely worth it given its quality and construction. Nothing stands out as being inferior to the Achilles Low, and there are even some things you might see as being superior. I wouldn't necessarily say that $450 is not worth it for a pair of common projects, since brand status and culture is still a huge factor. But if you don't care about those stamped gold numbers on the heel, then I think the Koio ticks all the right boxes of a high-quality minimal white sneakers at a lower price point. Personally, I'll be keeping both in my rotation.